Now, you may not know this, but you are missing out on a whole bunch of gains if you are not doing Zercher squats. Now, I'm talking about size and strength. Now, what is the Zercher squat? Quite simply, it is the squat variation where we're holding the barbell in the crooks of the arms. Okay, now my best lift with this movement is 282.5 kilograms, and I'm currently on my way to a 300 kilogram Zercher squat. Now, this movement is probably the most difficult squat variation there is, but in saying that, also huge promise in returns for that. Why should you be doing a Zercher squat specifically? Well, if you want to build a big squat, if you want to build a big deadlift, or just be stronger and more powerful as a whole, this movement is for you. Now, not only does it require enormous leg strength, obviously, to stand up with heavy weights, it also requires tremendous upper body strength to hold the weight and not be pulled forward. So it's definitely working every fucking muscle in the entire body, which is why you just got to have it in your program. Now, I'm going to be starting today with 60 kilograms on the bar. I'm going to be working up to a top set, and during the session, this is going to be a full Zercher squat tutorial. So I'm going to go over all the techniques, all the tips, all the secrets that I have that's going to help you. Now, one more thing with the Zercher squat that I find truly valuable is that if you're someone who, let's say, has dealt with lower back pain at some point, now if you've been lifting for long enough, you've been lifting heavy for long enough, eventually you're going to have a sore lower back at some point. It just kind of happens, especially if you're doing heavy squats and heavy deadlifts. Now, that sore lower back, it can get in the way of our training sometimes, and it can hold us back, and sometimes we can't perform deadlifts and we can't perform squats because it flares up our back. Now, if that's you, this movement is the fucking best, right? We can still work extremely hard through a very similar squat pattern, and yes, it also kind of does mimic a deadlift pattern. We can work extremely hard with less load because we're holding it here. It's a lot harder to hold it here than it is, let's say, on our back. And because we are forced into more of an upright torso position doing this, there is less pressure on the lower back, as well as the fact that we're not loading directly on the spine. So the spine isn't being directly compressed, or with the deadlift, we're not having to bend over, right? So keeping a relatively upright torso position. So it's fantastic if you had any lower back issues, or if you just want to build a bigger, stronger core and a bigger, stronger body. Absolutely. We'll start now with 60 kilos. Let's go. All right, now before I do my first set, let's quickly talk about, whereabouts in our arms do we place the barbell? Well, obviously in the crooks of the elbows, right? So in the crease of the elbow is where we want to place it, but how wide do we have our hands? Well, that's going to depend a little bit on your foot placement as well, which we're going to go over in the next one. But for this, we want to think about having them as compact as we can, but we still need to be able to reach the barbell with our stomach. So we still need to be able to get our body against the barbell. So if you're too close, the weight's going to be too far in front of you. It's going to be way too hard. If it's too wide, I feel like you can't quite get the same upper body bracing and the same tightness required. And also the elbows can sometimes hit the quadriceps and get in the way of the squat. So it's, for me, I just try and I bring them as close as I possibly can while still getting my body against the barbell. So that's about here. And then what I do with my hands, some people do it like this. I like to, do it like this. I pull my hands back towards myself. I feel like it just helps me squeeze back and get a better brace, but that's totally up to you. I'm gonna do 5 or 6 repetitions here, and then we'll move on. Let's go. Nice and easy, as you can see there, right? My elbows are in a good position and they weren't really getting caught up in my legs and interfering. We'll go 100 kilos and we'll talk some more. All right, gang, now I have 2 plates on the bar here. Now we're gonna talk about foot placement, okay? So with this, very similar to, let's say, a back squat. We wanna have closer to shoulder width, I would say wider than hip width, okay? Because we do need to think about the fact we really have to emphasize opening the hips and external rotation with the Zercher squat because we need to make room for the elbows in the hole. So there's no point doing a Zercher squat and squatting like this because your elbows are just going to get stuck here, right? So we need to think about opening. So toes slightly out, around shoulder width, I think should be okay. For most people, you may need to change it a little bit. And then it's about opening, right? So hips open, and then the elbows kind of come down just inside. Now, the next thing, if you come around the side just a little bit for this one, the other good thing about what opening the hips does is it allows you to stay more upright, which is our goal. But in saying that, obviously, the more challenging the load, the harder it is to stay upright. But the goal and the intent is to stay as upright as possible. But you'll still see when I squat, there's a little lean forward. Now that has to happen. That just has to happen. I have to get here so I can actually get into the hole. It's not possible for me to do this simply based on where I'm holding the weight. It needs to be in the center line of the body, so there will need to be a slight push back with the hips, which does mean a slight forward lean with the torso, but that's it. We're not trying to exaggerate it, not like a low bar squat where there is more of a definitive forward lean. We're still trying to be upright. And by saying that, I mean also fighting, just not being pulled like this, right? So fighting back against the barbell. And then combine that, boom, elbows in between, up you come, right? 100 kilos. We'll go say 3 to 4 repetitions and we'll move on. Working up to a top single today. Let's get it. Easy. Lovely. We'll add another plate and we'll chat some more. Let's go. All right, baby. 3 plates on the bar now. So a little bit more about the technique and how this can look, right? Now it's going to look different for different people, just like any squat will. Let's say, for example, a back squat. Someone who is very posterior chain dominant, they're going to be further lent forward in the squat versus somebody who is extremely quadricep dominant. They're going to be very upright when they squat because their quadriceps are a lot stronger. So the same thing will happen here, okay? So generally what we're going to see, the difference is someone who is very quadricep dominant will be able to sit a little more upright. I'm personally very posterior chain dominant. That's why you're going to see more of this. And then again, as it gets really heavy, even the squat part, it doesn't necessarily look the same coming up as it does going down. It can go down looking like a squat, and it can come up almost looking like a bit more of a deadlift hybrid, right? Which is why this is fantastic at training both movements, because you are training technically more of a squat pattern under a heavy load on the way down, and that can fucking turn into a fucking deadlift or a pull. But we're still using the pushing and pulling muscles regardless because the weight's here, so we're having to pull back to stop it going forward. So we are pulling, but we're also pushing, just like the deadlift, right? Absolutely. I'm gonna film this one from the side. I want you just to get a better idea of what my torso is doing with 140 kilograms. You're gonna see a little bit of forward lean, but still with this weight coming out of the hole, I should still be relatively upright. My quads should be okay for this kind of weight before my posterior chain or my extra strong posterior chain sort of kicks in and takes over a bit. But just if yours does that, it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. This is a little bit different to the other lifts. It's kind of hard to do it wrong. You know, if you get these basics right, like position in the arms, where do you put your feet and your intention, all right, you're moving in the right direction. Let's get this. Let's go, baby. We'll just go 2 repetitions here. Let's go. So I still feel fairly upright. And I'll tell you right now, the hardest part of this squat is walking it out and walking it back. The squat itself, not so bad, but fuck me. It's difficult, it's gonna test you, and you're gonna love it and hate it at the same time. But most of all, you're gonna love it. Because it gets you big and strong. More weight on the bar. All right, baby, 4 plates on the bar now. This is gonna be my last warm-up for my Zercher squat session. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm recovering from a bicep reattachment surgery. So just over 4 months ago, there's one of my scars. Got another one up here as well. I had bicep reattachment surgery, so I've been recovering. And this is a challenging movement if you're recovering from bicep reattachment. Let me fucking tell you, the barbell sits directly on the scar tissue where the fucking surgery was. It's painful. This is maybe my 5th or 6th Zercher squat session since I've been back training. And a lot of it's just about, you know, conditioning the arm as well, getting it conditioned to the fucking punishment, kind of. And also, you know, conditioning the entire body, because one thing you're gonna find with the Zercher squat is it's a bit of a shock to the system, okay? It's not so much that you say the squat's heavy, but it feels really heavy, it feels really uncomfortable due to the breathing and bracing, or the lack of breathing, right? Now this is what I want to talk about now. Breathing and bracing with the Zercher squat is difficult, especially once you get really strong. Once you start stacking on 4 plates, 5 plates, 6 plates, etc., the amount of weight coming down on your diaphragm, it's impossible to get air to fill it, right? So we have to be tactful. There's a couple of ways to do it, and I think there's a bit of a hack to breathing with the Zercher squat, which I will explain. But for the sake of this, I'm just gonna hit a single, okay? Now, my breathing technique for a single is I try to take a breath before I unrack the bar, and I try to hold it the best I can until I get back to the top. Now, in saying that, I do tend to let a couple of little spurts of air out just to decrease the pressure a little bit, because the pressure, holding here, breathing, holding your breath, your eye's gonna fucking pop out of your skull, right? It's uncomfortable. You do get used to it, kind of, right? You do condition to it, but what I do is just a little tiny breath out sometimes to relieve a bit of pressure, but I do my best to really maintain that brace. And it is just a really difficult thing to do with the Zercher squat. This is the most difficult squat variation, the most uncomfortable, but in my opinion, fucking gold. And you need to have it in your program if you're serious about real training, about getting big and strong. It's a fucking foundational movement for me and all of my clients, especially strongman clients. Like if you're a strongman and you don't do Zercher squats, I would have to question your intelligence just because of the general carryover to almost every fucking event. Carrying events, deadlifting events, squatting events, you name it. This is the one, baby. But when it comes to breathing for multiple reps, I'll talk to you about that in my back down set where I'm gonna be doing reps. Okay, because again, it's very different. You do need to get a breath, but how do you get a breath? When you're squatting with weight on you, well, you can. There's a secret, and I'm gonna share it with you. But for now, I need to switch on. This is gonna be challenging. The most I hit so far since surgery is 200 kilos last week. It was tough, it felt pretty tough. I wanna beat that today, so this needs to be convincing. So we'll hit a single here. We're gonna smoke this shit. Make sure you have liked this video. Make sure you drop a comment. Let me know if you've learned anything so far. And of course, subscribe to your mum's favorite channel on YouTube, Cult Strength. I would really appreciate it. We're gonna switch on now. Come on, motherfucker. Oof. Ah. Oh! You fucking love it, boy. Yep. Ah. It is what it is. It feels okay. It hurts like shit. It sucks like shit. But I feel like a man. I guess that's important. I'm gonna go heavier. Fuck. I do have to go heavier. I wanna go heavier. What is it? My heart's telling me yes, but my body's saying no. It's like the opposite of the song. Something like that. All right, baby, 210 kilos. This is gonna be a post-surgery PR. I expect it to be a scrap. Now, one thing you'll find with when it starts getting really heavy for you is it's very hard to find the right footing, right? You can't really see down properly. Well, I can't with a fucking beard, but either way, when you're like this, it's very hard to look down and see your feet. So you're definitely feeling a little bit, but you also don't want to waste too much time fucking around, because every split second that goes past being crushed by that, it's just getting harder and harder, okay? So yes, you want to be in the best position possible, but if you're not in the perfect position, you better be strong. You know what I mean? That's what it's about. Now to get my head in this now, we're gonna smoke this and then we'll talk after. As I said, it's gonna be a fucking scrap, baby. But I'm gonna win, because that's what we do. Yeah, baby! Oh yeah! Oh, it's gonna fucking hurt so good! Ooh. Ooh. The squat was easy, but putting it on the rack was fucking hard. But not everything in life is easy. And if you want the good, you gotta do the bad. I don't know what that was, but it was successful. Yes, it was successful. I'm gonna take a moment or 5, and I'll be back to do some rep work with you. And we can talk about breathing and bracing. Let's go. So I'm really happy with that 210 kilogram top single. I was 10 kilos up from my last heavy session. And to be honest with you, it felt a little bit easier, even with that little cheeky pause in there as well. Now, I have 3 plates on the bar, and to finish this tutorial, I want to show you a back down set. I'm going to do, say, 8 to 10 repetitions here, but what we're going to be looking at is how do I breathe in between repetitions. Now, I'm using 140 because it's still enough weight to make breathing difficult, so I can still show you the technique. What we're going to be doing is this, right? If you come around the side just a little bit, the breathing is going to be very brief, and it's going to have to be well timed, and it's almost in a transition. So let's say we get our breath, we're here, you come here and you're like, fuck, I'm getting out of breath, I've got to squat. You do your squat, right? You come to the top and you go, so you're going to breathe out at the top, or as you're approaching the top. But then you have to get the breath back in immediately before you start going down again, or as you're going down again. So it'll look like this. So you go, right? Now, why are we doing this? We're trying to create just a little bit of distance, or at least less pressure, between the barbell and your sternum, or your diaphragm, sorry. So we're just trying to create a little bit less pressure, or maybe a little bit of distance here, so that change of direction. So we're up, and then as it just releases pressure a little bit, we lock it back in again. It's a short breath. It's not a full breath. It's very hard to get a full breath and a full brace when this gets heavy. It's just really not that practical. So you have to find these little ways to get through it, and that's the best way to do it. So I want to give you a demonstration of this technique right now. Pay close attention. You're going to be able to hear my breathing with my mic, but it may look a little bit complicated, a little bit tricky, but just try it with light weights. Try it in your early warm-ups. You get very comfortable very quickly, because you'll find it's the only way that you can breathe. And once you figure that out, well, you got to do it. It's easy. Let's go. I lost count. I think it was at least 10. I hope it was 10. But as you can see, that's how you do it. Let me take a breather and we'll wrap this up. And there is the Zercher squat tutorial. I really hope it helped. And just one thing to note as well, when you're doing a Zercher squat, it doesn't count if it's resting on your belt. If your belt's holding the weight, I've seen people do this, it's a lot fucking easier. I'm just saying, you gotta hold the weight. Anyway, I do hope this helped. That last set with the breathing and bracing, obviously all the way from foot position, how wide are our elbows, what are we doing with the hands, all of it, right? Torso position and angles. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Now, if you want to be coached by me, if you want to start taking your training and your results seriously, if you're sick of spinning your wheels, putting everything you have into the gym and getting little in return, then you need to consider it. All you need to do, send me an email at thecoachstrength@gmail.com. Say you're applying for online coaching, I'll be in touch with you. We also have one-off programs at cultstrength.square.site, my website. The programs are one-off, they don't include coaching, but they're excellent if you're a casual gym goer or you just want to get strong, but you don't want to worry about all the other stuff. They're fantastic. But if you really want to step up, maybe you're looking to compete or just be the best version of yourself, as cheesy as that sounds, if you just want to be a better version of yourself and you want help with that, I'm here to help. You just got to email me. But make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe so your mum doesn't get upset with you, because she will. And I'll see you motherfuckers Saturday, bench press at Base Gym with big/medium Vasa and the Australian strength coach, which is always a good time. That'll be our Saturday. See you then.